Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rahul Singhal, and I'm the Chief Product and Marketing Officer for Innodata. Uh, so I'm pretty excited to present today to you guys about data annotation, right? And the topic of my talk today is as a data scientist and as AI scientist, right? One of the prereqs of building a really good models tends to be good quality data. And I'll talk to you about why subject matter expertise is really important for building good data models, and talk about some of the work that we at Innodata have been doing for last 30 years and how we've been helpful in making AI successful. So let's get started. So I love this slide. So there's one of the things that when you think about AI, right? It started out in 2014 as a really commercial offering when IBM Watson made a big splash around AI, and they were right. I was fortunate enough to be part of IBM Watson team. I started out as a product leader at IBM Watson, ended up running NLP, speech, vision, and text products at IBM Watson. So saw the growth of really AI and applied AI. And then my background, I spent 2 years doing a startup, applying IBM Watson and other NLP technologies to a startup. And here at Innodata, we are building. We are really focused on being the leading data annotation provider. So I have seen the journey for the last 8 years on applying AI and making AI successful on projects, and I've had my set of failures. And these three quotes resonate with me, right? So Arvind Krishna, I think last year when he was head of IBM Data and AI, and now is the CEO, came out publicly in a Wall Street Journal article saying data related challenges are the top reasons why IBM is seeing artificial intelligence projects being canceled. Michael Conlin, who's the chief data officer for Department of Defense, came back and said something very similar, right? Solid, clean data in large volumes is absolutely critical, and that's what we here at Innodata see is something that a lot of our clients talk about why the projects tend to fail. So nothing new to you guys, right? All of you, a lot of you guys here are spending time building models, right? And one of the key things that stands out is AI is only as smart as the data as it's fed, right? And creating good, clean, quality, smart data is not a trivial task. I would even argue that as AI scientists and as AI engineers, we should be spending 80% of our time and energy in ensuring that the data that we work with is extremely clean. It's extremely, the ontologies that we work on are well defined so that we know what the outcome that we're looking to drive is very clear. And that's what we spend a lot of our time. So Innodata is, as a company, we are a 30-year-old company, and we've been perfecting the art of creating raw data into smart data for 30 years. Some of our clients are leading information providers like Elsevier, like Thomson Reuters, and others, where we've taken digital content and we have created smart content by applying variety of different techniques, but more importantly, subject matter expertise. So our team is we have six global delivery centers around the world, and distributed in Asia and in Latin America and in Europe and Americas, where we are able to take our subject matter experts who tend to be experts in pharma or life sciences contexts and financial services contexts and others to really create smart content for AI scientists. We have also built a text annotation platform. One of the things we realized very quickly is um, you need, when you're dealing with large amount of data, being able to have a platform that your subject matter experts can work. There are obviously open source tools like Brick, which is really useful and, to be honest, great for small annotation. But when you're looking at 100,000, 200,000 million document annotations, you need a platform. And here at Innodata, we built a platform that supports all kinds of document types, does the conversion, and allows the workflow to happen where a subject matter expert can tag data. These things, we again, 6 years back when I was working at Watson, was something that wasn't there, but now these are becoming part and parcel of every um, uh, annotation or AI site is. So let's talk about some of the work that we're doing. So this is a really interesting use case. We're working with a French company where they're using images to do auto claims damage, right? And one of here the use case where the use case is really interesting is they built a model, but what we have applied is humans in the loop. So we are part of two sets of processes. The first set of process here is when we create golden truth data, where we are looking at, say, 50 car images and 50 models of different car, and then being able to annotate, say, a Ford versus a Chevy, and then being able to identify and classify the car, but also then being able to annotate the different damages on the car. So we can, our team has the capability of collecting the data, right? So we have the ability to go collect data with our partnership with variety of different providers where data collection tends to be an issue. So we also have partnerships around the world where we can, relationships where we can go collect real data and then we annotate the data. And more importantly, one of the most important ingredients of a good AI solution is how does it learn? So our reviewers are part of the production cycle where our teams are actually looking and correcting the confidence level that comes out from the images. So really interesting where this has gone into production from one of our clients. Um, Another leading client is a leading social media platform. Here, our team, we are working across 6 different languages. We are supporting Arabic and Japanese and Hindi and English and other types of languages in variety of different use cases. Some of the interesting use cases are around content moderation, where our teams are working in and doing and looking at the data or the content and categorizing the content, whether it's misinformation, whether it's toxic, whether there is a need for brand protection. We're also looking at helping them identify and classify products. Now, these are really interesting projects where we work with 8 or 10 or 15 different data science teams. And what's been interesting to learn is quality is what really drives these models, right? So the quality requirements on these kinds of projects are 95% plus, which has been really interesting and a good learning exercise for us. Another really interesting use case is around real-time tracking of ships, right? Where we have 50 FTEs that are annotating images in real time, and here we are tracking physical assets. Whether they're on the ship or not on the ship, and we are annotating, where we are doing bounding boxes, we are doing point clouds and other kinds of techniques where we are looking to identify images and track movement of the assets, so that in real time the our client can make judgment about whether certain asset has been loaded or unloaded. Now, this is very time critical because there is tons of money associated with it. So if our client gets the answer wrong, they end up paying back to the shipping company or to the freight company in terms of whether when the answers were wrong and the AI wasn't performing. So we have become part and parcel of the production. That's how I see a lot of these engagements, AI engagements, being really successful when humans in the loop start to become part of an AI end-to-end story. So this has been a really interesting engagement for us, where domain experience and really high quality is paramount, to the point where we have to be 99.5% accurate. Otherwise, there is a penalty that our teams end up paying. Um, this is another interesting one for a financial services company. The financial services company has, as you would imagine, it's a very large financial services company. They have over 1,000 vendors, and it's impossible for a vendor to know whether what capabilities do they have. So when they do an RFP, they want to be able to automatically classify and choose the vendors based on the capability that they have. So our team was asked to go first, scrape the data, so collect the data, annotate the data. Here we had a 6 level hierarchy where on a seven we annotated on a 70 node hierarchy of different product and services classification. Then our data scientists worked on a model that was able to classify, and then we were able to do auto annotation, taking all the way end to end from data collection to building a financial or an AI model that then allows us to do auto annotation and put humans in the loop. Very successful project where now this will allow the financial services company to be to monitor capability assessment of their vendors, and then be able to find vendors that may have the capability and be able to do better procurement and leverage associated with that. So that's all I had. Wanted to take 10 minutes and give you a flavor of our capabilities, what we are seeing in the market. And I'll stop sharing. And if there are any questions on the chat, I will take them right now. Let me find. Right. So if there are any questions, please type it in the session, and happy to answer questions. Or you can reach out to me at rsinghal1@innodata.com, innodata.com to for follow-up questions. So thank you very much. Oh, great. So there is a question from Carson. How do you handle this agreement between SMEs? It's a great question. So one of the things we do is a lot of our clients ask for 3-pass annotation or a 5-pass annotation. In a 3-pass annotation, we have an arbiter, right, where an arbiter is making the judgment call, and then we do majority vote. Some of our clients have also asked us to say when there is a disagreement between SMEs, the arbiter is going to be the final judge on it, and the arbiter that is selected tends to be a very senior person, and they tend to use the result of the senior person as the final judgment. And in another case, the client and the data scientist team decided to say, if you have arbiter and the two SMEs having different answers, then they don't want to take that data, and we put a null value in it. So I think it totally depends on how the data scientists and the models are being created, and we've seen variety of different ways of handling it. So great question, Carson. Follow-up question: what about handling different geographies? SMEs are American and processes may be different in Europe. Again, good question. I think one of the things that we are realizing is talk about biases. So one of the things that our geographical dispersity allows us to do is put people. We try to, as much as possible, try to find subject matter experts in different geography, right? So if you're dealing with content that tends to be American, we tend to have people with the American or with the US sensitivities, right? So one of our clients is we are annotating data around. They're looking to annotate data around different events or different entities that happen to be US centric. So one of the things the requirement was, don't have people sitting in Philippines doing that annotation. We need to have US people who really understand that, 7-Eleven happens to be a store which may happen to have grocery shopping as well as may happen to have gas station, right? So I think that kind of stuff is something that we do, and we try to take the biases out. Thanks, Carson. Thanks for those questions. Okay, and seeing if there are any other questions. David asked a question, curious about your team structure. Has it matured over the years? If so, how? Yes, I think it's again a good question. The team structure, we've realized one of the things we realized very quickly was uh, quality is absolutely critical, right? And when you're working and creating high quality content, using freelancers allows you not to be very successful in terms of managing the end-to-end quality process. So one of the decisions we as a company made was we're going to have full-time resources which are Innodata employees so that we can manage quality, we can do a really good job of training them and managing end-to-end quality process. So that's one of the big decisions we made as a company, which obviously, when you think of other providers, they tend to use crowd a lot, but we as a company made a decision that we are going to focus on high quality, and one of the ways to control quality is to ensure you have full-time resources who are getting trained. The other thing that also allows us to have provide high quality is when you're using the crowd, it's very hard to find people. For example, we are working with a client of ours where we are annotating ISDA contracts, right? Now, ISDA is derivatives contracts. Very hard to find freelancers who are willing to work on have those subject matter expertise on derivatives contract. But here at Innodata, we have legal experts in India and Philippines, or healthcare experts, right? Innodata provides underwriting help to top 7 of the 10 large insurance firms, and we are able to train our people and have physicians and statisticians on our staff. So I think that's how our teams have matured, and there have been some strategic decisions around along the way that we have made of ensuring that we tend to use more. Majority of our staff tends to be full-time employees of Innodata. Carson has another question. What techniques do you use to assess quality of SME generated labels? So we tend to use different statistical techniques. One of the most standard ones is kappa. So we tend to use the kappa scores. We also tend to use other techniques like disagreement rate between different subject matter expertise. So we measure the different disagreement rates as another measure. And for handling labels that are known to be biased and contain fraud, I think it's more of an ML question. You're right. Not something that's downstream, not something that's upstream. David has another question. Yeah, and just to answer one more, Carson, we also do edge case flagging, right? So when there are edge cases, we do flag them as to ensure that that those get counted as part of the taxonomy and even taken out. Um, how have you overcome communication challenges dealing with folks who perhaps aren't so technical? Um, I think one of the ways we do is, and that's for customer facing, right? So we tend to have two in a box, right? So we have a project manager who is probably less technical but is managing the delivery, and then we also pair them up with at times, depending on the project type, if it requires a technical subject matter expertise, they're always paired up with the subject matter expert who is who understands the content, right? So for example, I was giving you an example of the derivatives contract. We have a two in a box where the delivery person who's managing, I'm sorry, managing a large team of 15 to 20 legal experts is really a project manager and is customer facing doing the project delivery. But there is a project lead who is a legal expert who can answer questions. So I think it depends on the project types. It's whether it's a two in a box and depending on the complexity of the projects. But good question that we tend to see it all the time. Thank you, David. Thank you, Carson, for all the questions. And again, please feel free to reach out to personally myself or anybody else from our team. And please go to our booth, and we'd love to discuss any potential help ways we can help you.